Yeah, thanks everybody. Super excited to be here. I guess a little bit of background. I've been working with product brands for a long time. I had an agency for a long time that we worked with product brands specifically, helping them create content, manage their e-commerce platforms, all types of ad media. The last 8 years, I've been working specifically with Pattern system that they call Pattern PXM. It's a digital asset management, product information management tool. So talked with lots of different brands, in every state of organization, with lots of different pain points, and just have really, seen the increase in demands for content, especially when we start looking at generative AI, and you start looking at platforms like TikTok that require a massive amount of content to be created every week. How challenging it is for brands to successfully not only control the message of their brand and the content that's being created, but then also controlling distribution and getting that content out. So I'm super excited. We got a great panel today. I've known some of these guys for longer than others, but just a really good, diverse group, really diverse background on the products they manage, the brands that they're managing. Lots of experience here. So why don't we just go ahead and start off, and just each one of you guys just give a quick intro. We know what brand you're from, but maybe talk about what responsibilities you have, where it starts and stops. That would be awesome. Go ahead, Bertrand.
So I work at PBI Gordon, and I am directly responsible for our PXM system, as well as our all of our digital assets for our digital team and our marketing for each of our business units.
Yeah, so Josh Francis, I'm with Orbit Irrigation and Husqvarna Group. My role, I'm in charge of our e-commerce efforts, which includes both marketplaces and DTC, and then also our digital marketing.
Shawn Douphner, VP of Marketing. E-commerce and marketplaces roll up to me, as well as all the creative and content creation.
Jason Bertrand with Purple. I'm VP of e-commerce at Purple. I've been there for about a year. My responsibilities are purple.com, Amazon, and the inside sales revenue channel. So those three make up the e-commerce channel, and then we also have a wholesale channel and a owned retail channel. So I'm the e-com guy.
All right. So great backgrounds here, lots of experience. So Jason, maybe we'll go back to you and we'll swing back this way. But thinking about, you guys have been doing this for a long time, lots of experience. With the increased demands for e-commerce and content generation and content distribution, what are some of the top challenges you guys are dealing with at Purple, and maybe make this specific to the brands that you're working with? What are the main friction points that you're dealing with now with this increased demand of content generation and content distribution?
Sure, yeah, so purple.com, I like to position as our flagship store, right? So we're a true omni-channel brand. We own some retail, we have wholesale distribution, but I like to position purple.com as the flagship store. And what that essentially does is it allows us to kind of be the, I guess, brand book, so to speak, of our content, right? And so our content is the best. It's where content should be pulled from, regardless of where that other distribution channel is. I'd say in terms of conflict, it's what we always call channel conflict, right? And so we've got we're trying to sell, but we're also trying to be a research vessel for shoppers who might not want to buy on purple.com. They might want to buy a mattress at a mattress firm, right? So there's a little bit of inherent conflict that comes with that, but I think positioning purple.com as the holder of the best brand content is kind of where it starts.
Great. Shawn, what about you guys?
I think for us, it's trying to maintain a certain level of authenticity to the product and the photography and the content in general, but trying to scale that. We struggle with trying to find the right sites, the right contacts to get content. We have a law enforcement channel, military. You have to be credible, you have to be authentic. You can't show a fake officer, it has to be real gear. And scaling that is really a challenge.
Yeah, so we kind of have come at it from the opposite angle as Purple there, in that for 50 years we've been retail first. And so our entire organization traditionally has been built around what do we need to put product on shelf and make it look good there. And so over the last 5 to 10 years, as we've looked at doing more and more with e-commerce and the content there, it's really been a little bit of a shift to get to that, where we're both an informational resource and we're a kind of best-in-class demonstration of what our product can be and how consumers can use it to solve problems that they have in their yard.
Great, yeah, thanks. And Richard, for you guys, like you're a little bit like Shawn with like lots of different categories. You actually have different categorization of products. So like for you, like what's been some big challenges?
So kind of touching on authenticity and also regulatory so our different brands, we have herbicides, pesticides, and we have pet pharmaceuticals and then pet nutrition. So we have to make sure each of those brands are following the regulatory needs. We want to make sure we're being authentic on our data that we're presenting on our sites as well as a central source of truth. But I don't know if anyone can relate out there, being able to push that information out to your different distributors or different people that are displaying your content. Doing that manually is a pain point for our sales team or all those people. So having a system in place where we don't have to do that manually is a big push for us. So.
Yeah, that's maybe we'll just follow up on that question real quick, because it's, you know, what tools are you guys using to help control, manage, and actually be successful in content distribution? So maybe
I'll just, since I kind of led into that,
right,
so
yeah.
I mean, not a plug here, but PXM, we do use Pattern PXM, but we really like the system because we are able to create the different templates and able to have our sales team export those out to import into different types of systems. Even if we don't have a direct connection via an API or a connector or any way you want to label that, we're able to create those exports and give it to our sales guys in one click to where they can give that to the mom and pop shop to make sure that they have the most recent product data up to date. So no longer is Joe having to remember that he has to go update product store over here.
Yeah.
So.
Great.
And-
Yeah,
and
Josh,
as
yeah, go ahead.
Proof that the panel is not rigged, we do not use Pattern PX
That's
at this point.
That's right. That's right. What, are you guys using any type of tech or how?
Yeah, so we do
control?
have, we've got a digital asset manager, and we've got a product information management system. They're different systems. It's a little bit of a pain point. I think one of the issues with being a older company is we've kind of added pieces along the way, and so trying to keep the data formatted in ways that are useful and get out what you thought you put in can be a little bit complicated.
Yeah, it's a really important point, right? We have teams where we'll talk with brands and they're saying, yeah, we're paying for, you know, customer X or like a DAM or a PIM, and then they do a poor job of maintaining it and it's not updated. So then that's supposed to be their source of truth. But then we ask them and they're like, well, yeah, but it's not updated. So now, you know, it's not really a source of truth and it becomes a lot of friction.
Well, and even, I mean, the best practice of whatever was put in 5 years ago is now shifted from what we prioritize now. And it's like, oh, looking for this asset, I know it's in there, but 5 years ago, we called it something different.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, not only are the requirements somewhat like the marketplaces are requesting from the brands changing quickly, there's also specific marketplaces, like I mentioned, like TikTok Shop. I don't know how many people are doing anything on TikTok Shop, but if you look into the amount of content that you need to generate to actually be successful on TikTok, it's like, it's wild. It's so much bandwidth that a brand needs to deploy just to service that one marketplace. And then you scale that across, like, you know, all of the marketplaces you're on, it becomes a daunting task. So Shawn, I know you've had a lot of experience with like tech.
Yeah, so we were pretty forward with tech and trying to solve the problem. We've sort of a plug. We're on Salsify, we're moving over to PXM, and I think some of that's built around this idea that we didn't really have a great DAM solution. PXM sort of allows us to merge it all together, so we're not having disparate systems, and our DAM content was really the most out of date. Our PIM was the most up to date. But just in general, similar to the regulatory, we don't have regulatory, but we have a lot of certifications that products have to meet. And it's really the idea of tests change, results change over time, having to push that content back out. The easiest possible solution is the one that will be seen at the customer level the fastest. and having it automated, push through APIs or simple export into their template and their format has been a game changer for us.
Cool. Thanks, Shawn. Jason, at Purple, are you guys using any like technology to help like manage the distribution of content, but also maybe helping manage in like brand consistency?
You know, it's funny, I mean, probably opposite to you. I mean, we have such a small SKU assortment, right? I mean, we sell mattresses, pillows, seat cushions, and sheets, basically, right? So I think as a result of that, we have not leaned into a dam or, you know, a solution like you guys are offering, and perhaps that's why I was asked to be on this panel. I don't know, maybe we're a potential client, right? But, you know, I think I'll speak more to kind of the process. I think that's interesting, and I think, you know, with us, what we had not really been doing, it was really a creative-led effort, and I think what we've been doing over the last couple of years, I'll say, is involving more of the consumer insights that we get from user testing, surveying, that kind of thing, in-store and the omni-channel environment, and kind of applying that along with SEO and design. So as opposed to just going at our content objectives with just a design and kind of brand mentality, it's definitely been a lot more data-led, right? And so because we don't use the technology, I completely shifted that question and answered it the way I wanted to. Hopefully that's okay, but I was hoping to still be relevant.
No, it's awesome. But I like that. Like, so maybe explain that a little bit, like how that looks for you internally, like when you're working with multiple teams. You have that data, those insights coming in. Like, how are you pulling that team together to make sure that you're actually building content that is in line with the data?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's you know, it's multiple departments, right? So you've got the product development department who is obviously leading product and product marketing, and then they also kind of hold the reins of the consumer insights department. And so, you know, it's really just cross-functional alignment is really, you know, I think the most common word I hear at Purple is alignment, and I think that's just the need of getting, you know, all these different departments aligned on this objective. We're going through a brand repositioning effort right now, and while in my experience in the past, that's often been just solely, you know, driven by the brand team. In this case, it's definitely much more of a cross-functional alignment, and as a result, I think it's, you know, I think we're all much more accountable as a group and aligned to it.
Got it. Thanks for that. And maybe just like one other question for you. So with all of the retailers and maybe your direct-to-consumer channel, like how are you actually distributing content? So you're repositioning the brand. How are you actually getting the new content out?
Manual as hell. It really is very manual, which is probably why we're not an ideal client.
Hey, like I said, we've over the years, I've talked to thousands of different brands, and we've seen all types of you know, states of organization and ways that they're doing stuff. So we love everybody. There's no, yeah. We've actually, you would be amazed on, there's some really, really big brands, and you start talking to them and you're like, hey, how are you managing your content? They're like, oh, we're in spreadsheets. We're like, there's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
It's impressive you guys are doing that much business. Yeah.
Guilty.
So yeah, Richard, like you spoke a little bit about like how you have like a dual role in like digital management and in production. Like how do you juggle like high quality content demands and with, you know, need for like rapid development?
So one of the biggest things is, I mean, creative teams are amazing out there. Being on the creative team in the marketing as well has been really important. But any of our decisions or changes that we make to our content has to be supported by the data. So supporting your creative with data and making those changes. Generating the content quickly, we are currently looking at opportunities to create that content. We are still being hesitant on the actual packaging and actually trying to do that with now generation of the content on copy. We are definitely more open to. We haven't implemented, we've started testing it. So we're in the middle right now. We're just starting that.
Yep, cool, awesome. Josh, with your particular role, like what's the process look like for you guys in terms of understanding, hey, we need to generate new content, getting content created, and then getting it like pushed out?
Yeah, I mean, there's such a huge appetite for content online. I mean, it seems like there's never enough that you can be producing, so you always need more. One of the things, so a couple things. The first one, in my office is right across the hall from the person that heads up our customer service department. And those phone calls that come in from customer care are absolute gold in terms of what our customers are actually having problems with, what questions they need answered. That just works fantastic. The other thing that we've had a lot of success with is trying to, I use the phrase rapidly prototype content, very low budget, see if it'll work, and then gather the data to then see if if it resonates with people, and then we can kind of spend more money on that. So I've got an example. We've got this fantastic product. It's a motion-activated sprinkler. It'll keep deer out of your yard and things like that. And we had an idea, and so this was probably 3 summers ago. I'm out in my yard. I've got my 12-year-old son on the video camera. My daughter's hiding in the bushes with a hose, spraying me in the face as I'm crawling across the lawn with a wetsuit on and a stuffed animal demonstrating how this sprinkler works. And we put that on Amazon Ads as a test. I mean, super cheap to do, super easy. And it performed above average, got great response. And so we then took that and we said, this concept works. We worked with an agency. We spent $15,000 to $20,000 per video on 3 different videos and replaced my video, which was actually fantastic, and then with these ones, and all of our numbers shot up through the roof. It was better click-through rate, lower cost per impression, more sales. Just being able to kind of vet the idea before you go ahead and sink a lot of money into something has worked really well for us.
That's amazing. All right, so Josh is available for a stunt double in the videos. Yeah, that's awesome. Shawn, tell us a little bit about like how, ensuring like brand consistency. You guys work across a lot of different channels. So you got direct to consumer. There's a lot of like brick and mortar channels that you guys sell to, and then lots of different marketplaces. So how do you like ensure like brand consistency when you're trying to manage all of that?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough a lot. So not only marketplaces and wholesale and retail, but we have commercial distribution through the likes of Grainger and Fastenal. And each channel has its own message. That ladders up to a massive brand message, but there's a lag effect, and each channel is different. So it's a constant game of chasing. We have people who manage consumer, some in FedTech, and it's just a matter of hours in the day and priorities for them. Okay. It's not a great solution for us. We're probably far behind the ball on that one.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely challenging for a lot of different brands. So thinking about, I guess like if we're looking forward, there's a lot of talk about like generative AI. We've seen and heard a lot about it, at the conference over yesterday and today. So maybe talk about that. Like maybe Jason, start. Like, how are you guys thinking about generative AI? And you may not be using it yet, but like, how are you starting to think about that as a company? We've seen the adoption of generative AI across organizations really start to spike. Lots of people are talking about it. As we saw, if you look at the image generation component of the generative AI, there's still some issues, but like I like to say, it's the worst it's ever going to be, and it's coming really fast. I shared a stat in that last meeting that I was in, but if you look, the internet, it took 7 years to get 100 million users, and ChatGPT did that in 2 months. Yeah. I'm not sure if any of you guys follow this, but Google is having their I/O conference right now. The amount of stuff that they just released in the last 2 days is like absolutely bonkers. It's crazy. So it's coming really fast, and as companies and as leaders in this space, maybe just start to share like how, maybe you guys aren't using it yet, but like how you guys starting to think about the generative AI and how it can be used.
Yeah, I think the first thing that pops into my head is our blog content, right? And I think, when I came on, there was, I want to say a little bit of some old school mentality in that no, we're not using any AI. This needs to all be human written. And I think there's some validity to that, right? I mean, I think it's good to have a human touch and everything, but I don't see a problem with starting with AI as kind of the baseline for the sake of getting this content out. The other thing that we found, I think very much related to this, is significant drops in organic clicks from Google, right, over time, and it is very much attributed to AI, as you know, we believe. So therefore, we're very highly motivated to make sure we have the right content that can appear for key terms that, you know, people aren't going to click on ads, they're not going to click on organic listings, they're going to read that. I'm blanking on the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about, that little blurb that Google's showing there,
Yep.
or what AI is finding when they search our site. So we've kind of had the shift from, I'll say, traditional SEO building to this more AI-led approach, just to take advantage of what is obviously the trend.
Yeah. So they announced yesterday the Geo scorecard. We'll get you one of those.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was like,
So it's amazing. Like I'm one of the people who I haven't done a Google search in over a year for sure. Right? You know, I just.
I love seeing there's a question in one of the other sessions where someone said, who's using Google less than, and I looked at, and I'm definitely using it less, and I was happy to see that pretty much 80% of the room was in the same boat. I was kind of surprised though.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe Shawn, come back to you and we'll go this way. How are you guys thinking at Mechanix? How are you guys thinking about generative AI and how are you starting to use it?
So similarly, on the design front, we're sort of trying to use it like from a scaffolding approach. When a project comes in, the brief, scaffold out all the different creative that's required, trying to get there where AI builds most of it, and then we have a designer come over the top, have a marketing person proof the copy, make sure it's, you know, still the voice we want. And then ideation, the creative team is using it constantly now to just have it be the foundation, like you were saying. Start out the ideation, even as early as like this morning, I was reviewing some of those ideations for a logo we have to create. They can spit it out with, you know, seconds, minutes, and then we Mechanicize it, we apply our brand over the top of it. From the rest of like what we reviewed earlier yesterday and today on, we're using it mainly for like filling backgrounds. We actually, like back to the authenticity piece, every little detail has to be right. Someone understands the tool that's in the hand, that's a Snap-on or a Husqvarna tool or a Cobalt tool if we're selling to Lowe's, so we have to get that right. And it's not quite there yet, but like filling backgrounds, changing out backgrounds, we've used it for that.
Great, but you guys are. Yeah.
Well, we do make gloves for you guys.
Yeah. But you guys are thinking about it.
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
I think that's really important. So I don't know how many of you guys are using it in your organizations. I would say start using it, even if you're using it just in your personal use, maybe experimenting. This is really important. It's something that's coming. You need to understand how to use it. Shawn brought up a great point. From an ideation standpoint, I don't know how many of you have done this. Use it as a collaborator. It's really, really good for that. Give it ideas, ask it, hey, I want to collaborate with you. Creatively, it's excellent for collaboration. It can really help your teams get momentum going and just starting that creative process. So super useful in that way. Josh, what about you guys at Orbit? You guys starting to think about it at all?
Similar to my colleagues here, we use it quite a bit for ideation. We use it for brainstorming. We'll use it to help with script writing. First drafts of content, I think, is really beneficial. I think when you look at the impacts that it's had on search and where that's shifting, I think our viewpoint is that, really the rules of search haven't changed. People are interfacing with it in a different way. And really what it's brought to the surface is that instead of kind of guessing the right combination of words to get the result that you're looking for in the search engine, AI really surfaces, I'm going to steal Clayton Christensen's term, jobs to be done. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, oh, it looks like you're trying to do this. Here's what I recommend. And that has definitely influenced our perspective as we're creating pages, as we're talking about our products. We try to spend a little more time thinking about what problem is this solving for somebody and how do we make that accessible? Because yes, the clicks from Google are down. But if we do that right, the sales of our products are still going to be up.
Yeah, that's really important. I think a big aspect of the new like AI models, deep research. So you guys have heard of deep research, right? I don't know how many of you have done this, but I use it all the time. So if I was going to go buy a Mechanix glove, I could just type in there, hey, I want you to go scan all the Mechanix gloves, rank them for what I need it for, tell me which one is going to be the best fit. It creates a whole table, ranks it, tells it why it's the best. But if you look at like the train of thought, where it's going out and it's querying all, potentially your D2C site, lots of different Amazon sites, all of the different channels they're on. So it's really important to make sure you have consistent brand messaging, what the value prop is, and it's absolutely going to be affecting commerce in the future for sure.
And actually, if I can add, the other place where we found it really useful is at that very end. When you're trying to make sure that you're sticking to brand style guides with tone of voice and things like that, that's very easy to train a model to make sure that the writing is in alignment with what you want, as opposed to trying to do it as a human.
Excellent. So you guys are actually using it as like a QA on the copy?
It's like, oh, here's the copy. Now make sure that it's, I think we've got upbeat, informative, helpful style, and just do a quick pass there to make sure that really the tone of voice is what we're looking for as well.
Amazing. Yeah, Richard, how about you guys? Like, how are you guys starting to think about it, and maybe you're using some of it?
So this wasn't planned, the segue what he was just talking about, actually training models. So one of the fun opportunities I have on the team is I get to be involved with the tech side of it. I've been playing around training different models based upon content we've already created, some of our campaigns, taking that scripts and loading those into a model, and like, this is our overall tone for this specific product. We already have the model know everything about the product, the attributes, and then it be able to create that basic brief of like, okay, we need to have this new video needs to follow this script based upon these points. Okay, I want that same campaign, but I need a new targeted towards a mom or targeted towards a dad who's working in the yard, has a weed problem for our PBI Gordon's weed killer. So that's how we're starting to use it, just to get basically everyone here, the very beginning pieces of our campaigns that we're getting to create that content. So we're still creating that and massaging it with our team, but being able to train models based upon our already created content. Here's the new content we should be creating based upon research and data. Now what can we do? Keep the same campaign, but improve it. So
okay. Yeah.
that's how we're using it.
Okay. Thanks for that. We do want to save some time for some Q&A. So I'm wondering, Jason, when we start with you, we can swing back this way. Question for you guys all. Fast forwarding the next like 3 to 5 years, and with this whole movement with AI, like where do you see us being? What challenges do you see that we're going to be dealing with in the next 3 to 5 years? What do you think?
Yeah, I think back to one of the initial presentations here. I think from Dave. I think he showed that natural organics. I want to say the image, where it was an AI image, and then what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And I found that fascinating. I mean, absolutely fascinating. But I think in 3 to 5 years, we won't even be worried about stuff like that, right? Like that's going to be in the past, right? So I don't know. I mean, I think it'll be. I guess when I think about copywriting and content generation and photo shoots, for example, are we going to need photo shoots? I mean, I kind of think that when we look to do a lifestyle, we have a product shot, obviously, of a bed, pillow, whatever. Having a lifestyle incorporated with that is critical. Can we, 3 to 5 years, I have to assume that we will not need as many photo shoots. I think today we don't need as many photo shoots. So in 3 to 5 years, I would have to assume that it's going to be even more so.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Shawn, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think similarly, I think the need for photo shoots, the need for content, I think AI and technology will just be able to bring it to a level where we won't have as much effort. But I think generally speaking, at least our belief is that humans still our great power is choice. Like we'll be in the position to choose from what is created, and that will be our roles. And does it align to our strategies and the tactics we're trying to deploy? I think that won't change.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, Josh, what are you seeing in the crystal ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think AI is going to greatly enhance productivity. It's going to magnify what we can get done. I think the challenge that comes along with that is that as more and more people are using AI to create content, there are those that will, I'm going to phrase it as use it responsibly. And then there's going to be all sorts of people that are just using AI to generate content. And so I think one of the keys to success going forward is going to be using the tools to focus on creating value and make sure that you're not creating content for content's sake, but you're actually using it to solve problems and create value for people. And I think that's going to be one of the keys to success moving forward.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, great. What do you think? What do you see next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I mean, over just the last year, I mean, the last couple of months, I mean, the improvements that have been happening in AI. But I do agree that the creation of content and created for a purpose, not just creating content just to create content, where what is actually going to solve the problem for our consumer and actually get them to click the buy button. It's not just making the content just to make it. What is going to make that solve the problem for our customers? I do see it that we will always need that human touch in creativity, or example, the Cybertruck. You know, the AI isn't going to make a Cybertruck, but a person there with that touch was going to make that decision to make that product. So I definitely see, and I'm excited to see where we'll be in 3 to 5 years. I mean, I'm excited in a month. I mean, just to see the improvements.
Yeah, it's really amazing at the speed at which it's advancing. I'd say, at Pattern, we're super excited about it. We obviously are deploying AI in lots of different ways. A few things that I would just say, as you guys are evaluating and starting to be curious with AI and starting to integrate AI more into your workflows, there's a tendency to try to go and say, we're going to use AI for everything. I would say there's a saying, I think it probably started, maybe around Google, but it's think big, start small, scale fast. You guys have probably heard this, right? So I think it really applies with AI. Think big, but start small. And by starting small, I think it's really important to pick specific tasks that you want to have AI do as you're going through this process. It's not like a hammer that you're going to use for everything on the construction site. It's picking specific tasks that you want to use AI to accomplish. I think, starting now is going to prepare us as these tools advance. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see amazing evolution of the AI technologies that's going to really allow our teams to move fast. It's going to help give us control by setting and training models and letting us know, hey, is this on message or not? And we'll be able to have those guardrails in place. I think the image generation is going to really come a long way, where we'll feel confident using the images on product listings. So super exciting on what's coming. The last thing I would just say is, as we see the speed at which content is going to be generated, I think it's going to become more and more important for brands to have technology to help manage the content, just because of the sheer volume, and to be able to make sure brand compliance. We're going to need the help from tech to be able to manage that. So I do want to leave some time for Q&A. We've got some great panelists here who can answer your questions. We're going to have a mic going around right here. Feel free to just go ahead and raise your hand. Any content or AI related question, just go ahead and let's get some questions for the panelists here.
Everybody's ready to go home.
Yeah, everyone's like, let's go see Damon John. Not everybody at once. There you go. We got one in the back.
Hello, thank you. My name's Justin. With the generative AI and everything, the information gain is still there. That's the human touch that we can add, right? Because AI can only take what it knows. And so at what point would you say, is it replacing humans, or is there always going to be that equivalency? Is the human, job openings, the overall positions going to go down in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you see it staying level, or is it even going to go up because overall information as a whole is greater?
Yeah, computers traditionally have not been good at creativity, empathy, and judgment. They can mimic things. They see things that they see in other places. But in terms of recreating the human interactions, that really sales is still a human interaction. We do it through the medium of e-commerce, but I think that there will always be a need for people to be involved with that, because that empathy piece in particular, it's okay, I understand the struggle, the frustration that you're feeling. That, I mean, we can mimic that, but it doesn't come across as super authentic at this point. I think there's some other ways that the way I view it, AI will definitely replace tasks, and it may lead to a world where fewer people are needed to get the same amount of workload done, but I don't see it as being a threat to replace humans. I think it's more of a productivity aid, and I don't see that changing anymore.
Unless it becomes self-aware, in which case we're all screwed.
Yeah, that would be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what he said there. I think, if you look at it, when we talk to brands that are in e-commerce and we look at the size of their teams, they're not often getting enough time to spend on the things that they should be focusing on, strategically trying to grow their brands. So I think where we'll see AI help is that the things that maybe you're looking at that you're saying, hey, I do that like 3 times, more than 3 times every day, the repetitive, mundane tasks, that's where you can deploy it to really make it more effective. And then you can be freed up to like actually focus on strategy versus actually needing to replace people. There was a really great study that Microsoft just did. They released it. I think they worked with Procter & Gamble and other brands. And you can go and see in there, and they talk specifically about how they see it changing the workforce and really freeing them up to focus on things that are really important and less of the repetitive task. Yeah. And
I was just going to add, like, the efficiency part of it. Like, I believe in a few panels, I think it was in one of yours, where we were talking about the amount of content that's needing to be updated or created, and teams are less than 10 on certain companies. I mean, I know our marketing team is 10 people, and all of this different content is very difficult to create at the rate we need to. So being able to get rid of those mundane tasks and free up our art director or our copywriter on those basic tasks will really help efficiency. So I don't think we'll ever get rid of the need of the human touch. It will, it was just kind of what you said. It will, just like with any advancement in technology, things have to change or get more efficient, and you just kind of take those workers and they are now focused on more different things. I don't think it'll ever get rid of the human touch, though.
Agreed. Yeah. Any other questions that we got? We got a few more minutes.
Yeah, we have time for 1 or 2 more.
Yeah.
I actually have one
Yeah,
that's a little
yeah,
backwards, but for Richard, I know.
Okay.
I know. I was going to ask you this earlier, but as not the moderator, it felt odd, and
Okay.
it still feels odd. But anyway, training AI models. Can you give some tactical explanation of exactly what you're doing to train, what you're using? Just some examples of that. I was really interested in that.
So this is going to get really techy. So depending on the systems you're on, there's different open source programs out there where you can load in your different images. It's, I guess, kind of the backbone of, I don't want to give the secret sauce from PX and what they've been working on, but you can load these systems in with your images and do it yourself on the Linux-based. And it will process them, and you put certain parameters in, and you name those things, like this is Richard, and you give it a key, unique name. And now the AI in that model knows that whenever I refer to Richard, I need to create this thing. I need to create him. And I give it a bunch of different images of me. And then it'll try to relate that to other attributes and other things it knows. That's how it essentially works. So the training, though, is actually a lot of time on your hardware. If you're running a MacBook Pro, you can run it pretty well, but not when you go into video. You can do image creation and content creation and copy really easily and fast with the M processors. But you can't do it on a basic computer. So you have to invest that time as well. I don't know if that's fully answers.
Is your creative team using it, or you're just playing with it right now?
I am. My creative team that I work with, they are interested. They'll ask me like, hey, can we generate something based upon this? Or we have an old asset, people that don't have the high-res image of someone's photo anymore. Upscaling images now. If no one's looked at upscaling images, the tools that are out there now, look at it, Google it, and you can turn an image that was a 500 by 500 to a 2000 by 2000 resolution image, and the clarity just comes back. It's almost like magic. It's a little scary, but look into it. It's really cool.
The other area where you can train things and get a fantastic result, and I know this is marketing and brand focused, but if you look at the customer care side of things, you can take a model like something that's out of the box at AWS and dump in your entire product manual catalog, and then put in the thousands of calls you get a month, and all of a sudden it gets really, really good at answering customer questions as it sees that over and over again. It's not as sexy as what we do, but it's still pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, great points there. Only thing I would add, one thing I would add there is, again, AI is going really fast, and I don't know anyone in here concerned about, hey, we have company data, we don't want to put it up into the cloud on these LLMs. Anybody concerned about that? Okay, we got a few.
Does anyone have a company that blocks their ability to access ChatGPT?
We did.
Really?
My IT reached out to me about some things, and I had to ease them what I was doing and showed them what the projects I was doing. But making sure your guardrails are in place. I know that I let my company know that I'm running it locally. Yeah. I run everything locally. I actually don't use any online resource. So even though there's licensing, you can sign up with ChatGPT and you're protected, and they say that none of your data is used. Still, we don't want to trust that. I mean, a lot of our information is publicly available, safety data sheets, et cetera, but we still want to make sure that we're not loading it and training ChatGPT and them using it in any way. Yep. So you running it locally can be done. It's just the knowledge and the team to know how. So.
Yeah, our IT group is headquartered in Europe, and they've got fun regulations for everything over there. Yeah. And so a year ago, they blocked all the generative AI platforms and everything else. And here we are 9 months later, and we've got corporate trials of ChatGPT, Claude, and Copilot, and we're trying to figure out which one will work best for us. It's amazing how quickly things are even moving within IT departments.
Yeah, this is definitely a topic of concern, but things are moving fast. So Google just actually announced they have a product, Gemma 3. It's actually a LLM that you can run on devices. You could run it on your phone, and it's more powerful than the latest Claude Anthropic model. Mm-hmm. So this is something so these are the things to look into. Be curious. It's something that, like, if you're concerned about it, now you could start training this model, running it on devices, even on computers, fully open source, and it's contained. It's not going out to the cloud. So I just see this, it's going to continue to evolve. It's going to, the concerns that potentially are there in terms of like privacy and data, not wanting things to be trained on, those are going to be solved. And so just understanding how this, the generative AI process works is just going to be really important for everybody to increase the AI influency across our organizations, for sure.
Yeah, I recommend everybody carve out maybe an hour a week and just play with different tools so you're familiar with what's changing, what's out there, and maybe find applications to how you can use it for what you do.
You can change your leadership's opinion if they're scared around AI. Just do it slowly, and you don't just immediately like, we're doing this. So just slowly introduce them to ways that it can help them. I mean, it's surprising, like our leadership was really against it. As I said, IT reached out to me, and now they're using it to help write their notes, help them be able to generate from their meetings. And so like they're now adopting it, and they can see its use case. And now it's like trying to implement that into our workflow processes with our marketing team and sales. So.
Amazing. Thanks so much for coming and joining us today. I want to thank Jason, Shawn, Josh, and Richard. Thanks for coming, being here, sharing your thoughts and your insights. We loved having you guys. And thanks for coming and being part of the Accelerate conference. Hope you guys enjoyed the last speaker. And thanks for coming.
Thanks, guys.